We're starting off at the end here, which is something I don't usually like to do, but well, I thought I'd do it this time because I decided to go a different way round for this video. Anyway, hi, I'm Carl Screezilla, you know me, yada yada yada. So, Naval. Is it still an absolute nightmare? Has Gaijin actually managed to fix it and make it worth playing? Well, as you can see in the I can't say the word, preliminary results here, made some okay silver lines in that match. 2 naval targets destroyed. Okay, that's good. 46 hits, 2 zones captured. Battle time, 1 minute 50. Time in total, 10 minutes and 39 seconds. Yeah. So we did get some extra little bits and bobs here. So let's just quickly save that replay. And let's just go to the hangar, because I'll show you what I was actually sailing in this battle. I decided to take out the Coastal Fleet. Now, Gaijin have split the Coastal Fleet and Blue Water Fleet. If you didn't know about this, basically what's happened is it used to be in a one tech tree. So everything is in a single tech tree. Now, the initial idea for Naval was going to be that, well, it was going to be patrol boats. And that's what the maps were designed around initially. And that's why you've got very, very tight, twisty island areas around the A and B cap, where the C cap is in this wide open ocean. And that's because they added larger ships, because everybody went, I don't want to play tiny little patrol boats. So eventually things were added, like submarine chasers, like the Chikoga here, which is a frigate, fairly large ship, fairly capable, has surface-to-surface missiles. It also has SAM capabilities, if I remember correctly. So, you know, you've got some serious capability. We don't actually get that. I didn't realise you can actually click on the premiums in the new layout here in the hangar. Anyway, but they don't work yet, obviously, so you don't get those. So you can't use them yet. As soon as you can use them, it's going to break the game even more. But you've got a highly advanced modern frigate with radar, high-firing guns, and all that kind of stuff. Defeat in that last mission. So let's just have a quick look at actually what we did get. So in that defeat, we earned 17,000 silver lines, which is not bad considering Naval is terrible. But that was a loss. And we also got some research to the Izakachi, which, again, is in the Coastal Fleet. The Izakachi, as you can see, a frigate. If we just look at the Izakachi, again, it's a frigate with a 3-inch gun at the front, and then a couple of 40mm Bofors on board. The 3-inch gun actually does have a radar system on it that is very, very early tech radar, you know, yada yada. So it's a small boat designed for, you know, coastal waters / fighting other small boats. And this is the thing, these small frigates are not designed to take on a destroyer one-on-one. These are more hunting submarines, anti-aircraft role, things like that. Now, I also have the PG-02 premium vehicle. Now, the PG-02 is, you know, you look at it and you go, this thing is going to be amazing because it has a 20mm Vulcan on the front, which is, you know, as guns go, it's a pretty decent gun. You've got an autocannon on the front, you know, a fairly fast-firing gun. However, it was nerfed to hell and back. And then I took out the Type 11, because I didn't want to have to pay for another boat slot. But 3.3, so 3.7 is my max BR here. So 3.7 in the Coastal Fleet. So, why am I saying this and why am I emphasising the Coastal Fleet? Well, because they split the Blue Water Fleet, which is your destroyers, your cruisers and your dreadnoughts and the coastal fleet, one would think that they would split the gameplay. So you could play the coastal fleet or blue water fleet, or you could play the blue water fleet and have some, some mix and match. But if you do, then you're going to get into a mixed battle. Well, in Gaijin's infinite wisdom, they haven't done that. So let's just ignore that one. Where, yeah, that was from another video where Gaijin managed to crash my system. As you can see, I finished second in this match. Our most successful player had 7 kills, their most successful had 4 kills, yet they still beat us terribly. So let's just view this replay now. This will give you an idea about how enjoyable gameplay is in naval gameplay, especially in coastal fleet. Because, as I said, you don't get split into coastal fleet and blue water fleet. You still have mixed battles. And if you're playing as a coastal fleet player, which I was in this match, you're at a slight disadvantage. Also, notice the incredibly slow load times as well. I do not know why it's so slow. The game chugs terribly in Naval now, worse than it did before. And this is post the update where they said they'd improved the stability of Naval. It's worse than it was before, which is some impressive feat. Good job, Gaijin. Again, top work. I mean, it looks fairly pretty, but yeah, you've managed to make a game that shouldn't chug on my computer. My rig is not shit anymore. It's decent, So anyway, here we are in the PG-02. Extremely overpowered at launch because of that Gatling gun on the nose. You've also got radar, so you've got some fairly useful things on this boat. It's a hydroplane, so it stands up on its little hydroplane foils there. For some reason, as you can see, the actual propeller doesn't actually go in the water, so you move along using generally sort of forms of magic. It has got a switch. As you can see, it's just chugging right now, and this isn't just from this replay and me recording it. It is actually the gameplay was chugging like hell as well. So as you can see there, we've got our fantastic propeller. We also have a gas turbine engine in it. So let's just switch to player view. So we're going to cap C pretty quickly. Not going to have a problem here, because nobody else is stupid enough to play coastal fleet, really. We have actually got one other player in the reserve coastal fleet ship, the LS3. And you'll see how well that goes for that player shortly. So, capping zone, capping zone, capping zone, capping zone. Now, as you can see, there are many destroyers on the enemy team. The Type 1943A, the Farragut, the Azikuzi, Fletchers, the Leopard, the 1924 Leopard, very decent decent destroyers. Sorry, we have got some. Something outside. We've got some destroyers on our own team, of course. The Sumner being the one that's going to really do the most out of anything, because it's probably one of the best destroyers at its rank. So, we're going to cruise along to A, which is being capped at the moment. I dropped artillery on it, just to see if I got a lucky strike with the arty, and also to sort of get an idea where the enemy ship is, so we now know where it is. As I said, we have got a Gatling gun on the nose of our boat, and there is an LS3 sitting in that cap. So, we no longer have an LS3 sitting in the cap. This is patrol boat gameplay, by the way. Now, you could say, well, that's because your patrol boat is not a reserve, it's a much higher tier. That's how it goes with any patrol boat. This gun just wipes them out of existence. Unfortunately, this gun overheats pretty much instantaneously. So, the advantage of a Gatling gun is it doesn't overheat because the barrels are constantly in motion and it keeps them cool. It doesn't work like that in War Thunder. It overheats if you sneeze at it, or if you look at it, or if you try and kill a destroyer with it. Which is what we have to do, because there is a Fletcher coming for us. So as we can see, there is a Fletcher there. We're trying to make our aim. We've got armor-piercing, discarding sabot shells, of course, which should just rip straight through the destroyer armor. As you can see, it doesn't. We managed to take out one of its guns, which is kind of good news for us. But the Fletcher has, what, 120-something millimeter gun? There's also another patrol boat coming in, the PGH-2. And we're dead. As you see, that's how long a patrol boat lasts. Because you're fighting a destroyer in a patrol boat. And unless you get a torpedo off, that never works. Never works. So we jump into the Chigo, which, as I said, is a frigate. Now we have fast-firing. We have a fast-firing frontal gun, 76mm, I think, off the top of my head. And as you can see, we can do some fairly okay damage to enemy ships. But they also have fast-firing guns, usually of about 120 to 150mm, depending on the ship. And of course, they are much tankier because they are destroyers. Now, if you look here, there are many destroyers fighting us. We are just a lone frigate. Now, we're spawned directly into their path, so we can't do anything to avoid their fire. We are also relatively stock, so we can't do much to repair or use smoke screens. As you can see, our main sort of gun has also just overheated and jammed, which is something you will get used to with any frigate, because their guns jam at the drop of a hat, because they were too strong in the original release, because they were fighting patrol boats. And as you can imagine, a frigate versus a patrol boat is not a very fair fight, much like a frigate versus a destroyer. So again, trying to aim for the weak points, trying to aim for their ammo racks, and we're dead. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Well, at least we set somebody on fire. Yeah. So you know when you saw my playtime, that's literally the playtime that I'm actually getting to play and enjoy the game right now. So, as you can see, it's not very enjoyable, really. So we jump into the Type 11. Now, this has two 40mm Bofors on board, as well as 4 torpedoes. Torpedoes are very useful against destroyers. The game is chugging still. There is a Fletcher. We know there is a Fletcher. There's an SF-40, which is the concrete anti-aircraft device, which has 88mm guns on board. Very tanky. Originally, that thing was an absolute beast because it was fighting patrol boats. Now, it's fighting destroyers. And as you can see, that's a problem because destroyers tend to destroy it quite quickly. So we've got a Type 1934A coming towards us. Well, we've got 40mm Bofors cannons, that's okay. We're in a boat made of wood, and we've got torpedoes. Yeah, this is probably not going to end well for either of us, really, but it's a suicide run. Now, patrol boats absolutely were a valid counter for destroyers in naval warfare because they generally were able to fight them at long distances, chuck a couple of torpedoes, and then dart away. At knife fighting ranges, however, this doesn't happen. And what tends to happen is you make the enemy ship go boom with your torpedoes, and then that's it for your game. That's it. So you manage to get a kill at least, if you're lucky. Your torpedoes may miss, of course. And that's me out of naval, by the way. I can't spawn any more boats in because you only have 3 ship spawns. So I jump into a plane. So jump into the B5N2, and well, as you can imagine, this doesn't go well. Mainly because I forgot I didn't have guns in the plane. I thought I was flying a different plane, and I forgot I didn't have guns. But still, it's more so that Destroyer AA will just absolutely murder you. even if you try and dart behind islands. Let's just fast forward a little bit here, just to get to the point, because, you know, rather than wasting everybody's time. So, stupidly go head on, we get some damage, but we're fine, we're still okay. Now, we can see there's a destroyer there, so we're going to have to duck behind the island for cover, because we're going to get all hell thrown at us from the automated AA systems. As you can see, lots and lots of AA coming towards us. So we're going to have to go over this little island, or archipelago. No, it's an island. It's an island. And we're going to try and get behind the other one. And we're dead. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. And that takes us to where we joined the video at the beginning. So Naval, it's still a hellish nightmare. Now let's just get out of this replay. You can't split the tech trees and then not split the game modes, Gaijin. Because patrol boats, yes, they can fight a destroyer at long range, but you can't face one head on. You can't face one at those sort of ranges where you have AI gunners, where you have ships with 120, 150mm guns. So 3.7 means we're going to be facing ships up to 4.7. So let's just quickly have a look at what we can be facing here. 4.7, the Type 1936A. 3 150mm turrets. Carl Geister. 5 127mm turrets. Let's go to America. Fletchers. 5 5-inch guns. Farragut. 4 5-inch guns. Let's go to Russia. The Leningrad class leader. 5 130mm B-13 guns. Those are the same as the SY, whatever it is, the crazy tank destroyer. The PR-7U. 4 130mm guns. Great Britain. The battle class. Kind of mixed up turrets, but 4.5-inch turrets, many guns. Battle class, again, many large guns. And this is basically the pattern. As you can see here, you're facing things like tribal classes, which some of the best destroyers of the Second World War, you know, and this is what you're facing. Japan, for instance, the Akazuki, again, another destroyer with lots and lots of guns, 100mm guns, but still big guns. The Yugumo, again, lots and lots of guns, very good AA armaments, sorry. The Yugumo class, the Kiishimo, 127mm guns, plenty of small caliber guns, lots of 25mm guns, because this thing was pretty much an anti-aircraft destroyer. It was classified as a cruiser in the Japanese Navy. No, wait, sorry, that was a different class. Sorry, was it Yugumo? Might be thinking of something else. Brain might be doing something stupid right now. That's right. We'll get to that another day. Italy, the only other nation with ships. Crozier. Again. Lots and lots of big guns. And you're starting to get the idea now of what you're facing. You know, you're facing destroyers. If we look at the coastal fleets, 4.7 is pretty much the max BR, and that's where you're getting the corvettes and sort of fairly modern torpedo boats. But again, they're not anywhere near the capabilities of a destroyer. You know, and they're effectively useless. I mean, if we go back to Russia with the coastal fleet, for example, the Project 159 used to be an absolute beast, and this is the thing I basically grinded out the whole of the Russian tech tree within a day, because it's just insanity. But if we actually look at it in port now, you've got two 76mm autocannons and a few very small torpedoes. This ship gets wrecked by destroyers because, well, armor. It has some armor for the crew and 5mm gun armor, and that's it. You get one hit anywhere, you're pretty much dead. You know, the beauty of this thing was because its guns were so ridiculous with the high explosive time variable fuses, because HE used to destroy things. But now it's effectively useless because you've only got 10mm of penetration. If we jump to a destroyer quickly, so that was what, 4.7, isn't it now? No, 4.3. So 4.3. So you're going to be facing up to 5.3. So you're going to be facing light cruisers. Now this is a problem because, well, if we look at a light cruiser and we look at the armour, armoured belts are 25mm. Basically this thing is just coated in armour. Now you can take out the guns at least in this, but as I said, this is the Russian variant. You can't penetrate the sides though. So you can start seeing problems here. And this is where the issues really start to set in. I mean, even if we look at some of the more modern destroyers and stuff, you know, you can kind of penetrate the gun turrets. Now this is basically the same ship as the Project 159, but just in its destroyer setting, where it has 130mm guns, which actually can penetrate shit. If we look at a classic destroyer, though, so the Project 7U, for instance, you start to have issue penetrating parts of it, and again, you just have issues getting through on it, and it's just ridiculous. You can still destroy them, but they will wipe you out with a single salvo. You can't really counteract that, and it is problematic. It is incredibly problematic, and yeah, Naval is still a nightmare. It's still an absolute nightmare, and it's absolutely broken still. Don't play it. That's my best advice. You will have fun. I will admit you will have fun with the reserve sort of area destroyers, because they can be kind of fun. You can have some enjoyable moments with them. But, and this is a big caveat, once you get past that and you get your first destroyer, until you actually start winning and actually making a difference in game, let's just look at the customization. I've played, no, not customization, modification, that's the word. Played a couple of games in this now, and I've managed to get tools and fire protection. But when you unlock a new ship, you don't have those. And this becomes really problematic when you're, say, playing a heavy cruiser. So the Admiral Hipper here. If we look at modifications, I don't have tools and I don't have fire protection systems. So, every time you play this ship, you will generally have a turret knocked out or be set on fire within the first few minutes of a game. When that happens, you can't put out said fire, you can't repair your turrets, and therefore you turn into a floating hulk, unable to do anything. Gaijin really needs to look at reforming the way Naval works, and making Naval so it actually is somewhat fun to play for people when they unlock a new ship. Because having to get parts and FPE is crippling when you get to the bigger ships. When you get to, say, a Dreadnought, which, yes, it has lots of armour, but HE rounds are still going to set it on fire, and it is going to catch on fire, because in Naval you catch on fire every salvo almost. You can't put that fire out. If your turrets get knocked out, you can't repair them. So effectively, you're floating around in a giant armoured hulk that can't fire back at the enemy, and can't put the fire out that's slowly killing it. And so you play for 20 minutes, and then you die, unable to do anything. That isn't really fun gameplay, is it? Alright, I'm going to stop ranting now, so I hope you get the idea here. I hope that you understand what I'm trying to get across here, that, you know, Naval, yes, it can be fun in some respects, but it is still entirely broken and really not worth putting your effort into, because you're not going to have a good time when you unlock that fancy new dreadnought unless you'd pump a load of Golden Eagles into it. And, you know, again, that's the whole point of it, you know, is so you actually spend those, 520 Golden Eagles to get FPE and toolkits, you know. But then you also need to have armor-piercing shells, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do much with 61mm of penetration against anything that has armour. Again, when we're talking about an armoured cruiser, if we look at the armour around the vulnerable parts, yeah, your HE rounds can't penetrate the actual parts that you need to penetrate. Yes, you can do damage to the superstructure, but that's it. So again, you're floating around in a ship, unable to do damage to any other ships unless you get a destroyer, in a ship that effectively will have everything knocked out, and you can't repair. That's not how you make a fun game, Gaijin. Alright guys, till next time, this is me, Carl Screwzilla. See you next time. Bye bye.